And here we go. We've got this most magnificent sunrise happening on the horizon. I'll zoom in as best as I can just to give you a vicarious experience of what I'm enjoying at the moment. And it's important to say that Greece has played a significant role that has infused and influenced and helped many countries throughout the world. The impact of Greece has been significant. And I remember somebody saying years ago about other cultures, and the professor said that whilst there are many cultures, there are many countries that have influenced the world in some way, nobody has influenced the way as significantly as the Greeks. Because if you took away everything that the Greeks have been if you take away everything that the Greeks have fathered and contributed to, then the world today would not be in any way, shape or form the way it is when it comes to democracy, when it comes to freedom of speech, when it comes to theatre, the arts, religion, all of those things. And whilst the Greeks may not have invented everything, whatever they took or borrowed, they improved, they added to it, they documented it, and they passed it on, most importantly, to other cultures through the works of Alexander the Great, who went on to conquer the known world back then in about 300 BC. And what he exported to the known world was education, culture, language, alphabet, structure, order, government, processes, systems, and all of those things helped build the world, build communities, build and transfer knowledge, document knowledge, document processes, so that they could be captured forever and passed on to future generations. And we're talking about a time where there wasn't a World Wide Web, there wasn't an internet, there wasn't any significant technology. We're talking about a time when everything needed to be done, protected, built and preserved so that future generations, like our generation today, could benefit. So once again, I'll remind everybody about a very, very beautiful, valid point that my late Uncle George used to always say. And he said that the Greeks have given the world more than the world can ever hope to repay. And all we Greeks really want and ask for is just a little bit of acknowledgement, a little bit of respect, and a little bit of gratitude for what, as a nation, as a race, have been able to contribute to the development and growth of world time and world platforms and world culture. The other thing my Uncle George used to say as well is that Greece is a country that has a massive, massive history. A history which is complex, it's wonderful, and he said something which I laughed when I first heard about it when I was a young bloke. But he said that if any other country in the world had the culture of Greece, the history of Greece, had done as much and contributed as much to the combined human knowledge, the thought processes, as what the Greeks had done, my Uncle George simply said, "Θα μας είχανε ζαλίσει τα αρχίδια." What he's basically saying is that if anybody else had the history, the rich history of Greece, they would have driven us crazy and pushed it into our faces and never ceased to talk about their greatness. But to be fair, the Greeks of old and the Greeks of new still carry on the philosophy and the principles of Philotimo. And Philotimo is hard to translate, hard to describe, but once you experience it, you know what I'm talking about. It's the love of people. It's the generosity that you see people share with others, strangers, people who they don't know, giving of themselves to enrich other people without expecting anything in return. And this is what true love is: to be a generous person who expresses and exudes the principles and values of Philotimo, which have come to a head and were crowned with Jesus, the source of love. God is the source of love, and it comes as no surprise that the Greek language, Greek thought, was the language, the alphabet, and the thought processes that we use to capture the New Testament, the Gospels, the epistles of St. Paul, and to pass them on to the world. And the Greek language was used for the first 1,000 years of the Church to capture, to define, to debate, to describe, and to preach the Word of God. It's very, very simple, and to be a Greek is to be someone who loves God and loves their neighbour. As a friend of mine, my spiritual father, says to me time and time again, he said that there was never a time where the Greeks were not very, very religious, where their whole world, their whole being, everything they did was to honour and to please the deities. Yes, they got misguided and they went off on a tangent, with polytheism and everything that surrounded their religious practices, but it was an honest error, an error in judgment. But the Greek-speaking Jews who had adopted the Greek thought processes were quick to change once they saw the light and once they heard the preachings of the Apostle Paul, who passed through this country and spent at least 18 months in Corinth as a tent maker, where he preached to the Corinthians, the Sicyonians, and all the people who congregated there for the Isthmian Games. So wherever people congregated, St. Paul would also go to preach the Word of God in the Greek language. And as I said, some of the first converts, the first disciples, were Hellenized Jews who had Greek names like Andreas, Lucas, and others, and they had understood and appreciated and had absorbed the Greek thought processes, the freedom of expression, the freedom of thought, and were able to understand and receive the Word of God and to work with it as opposed to fight it. So the Greek world back then was just like how the American world is today, or the English world, where the lingua franca, the language of the world, back then was Greek. Just like today, the language of the world is English. And if you are to succeed in business, or if you're going to succeed in an internet-based world, then you need to be able to speak the Greek language, to think in the Greek language, or should I say in the English language today, whereas in past times you'd have to think and live and express yourself in the Greek language. Today, with the internet world and with the business world, the English language is the language of choice in order to succeed and to express oneself. So we can talk forever on this topic, but suffice to say that the Greeks, in their own special way, were the thought leaders of their time. And it's important and very, very special to know that, because it helps put things into perspective, and it doesn't make Greek orthodoxy, it doesn't make the Greek language, doesn't make the Greeks look weird or different, but it puts them on the stage and into perspective from a global perspective, and it allows us to understand that, as I mentioned before, the Greek language, the Greek thought process, the Greek systems, Greek art, even Greek religion formed a basis to accept and to pass on the magnificent mysteries of the New Testament. So with great sadness I say goodbye to this land, to this place that has hosted me for weeks on end. I've been able to use this part of Greece as my base to allow me to go for my morning swims and to have a place to lay my head and to use it as a base to walk around and to discover this part of Greece. And hopefully I'll have good health to be able to come back here again and again to go for swims with my friend Gira Grigori, where we go from a beach on the other side of the bay here, a beach in the corner there in the distance. We launch ourselves from there and we swim all the way out to this point and beyond. In days gone by we'd swim out to that island, and in years gone by I've actually swum around this point to the other side, which is about a 3-hour swim non-stop in very, very deep, beautiful blue waters between this island and the headland, and another island on the other side called Rafti, and the headland as well. Don't know how I did it, but I did. But it is really, really special. Anyway, over and out from Jim's 5 AM club, and we'll chat again some other day, where I'll come again, hopefully in good health. Hey, better, taxi. Yeah, yeah, all good. And we'll come here again and celebrate the beauty, the great beauty of this wonderful country. And as you can see, we've got other people coming over here to once again do what people do, to come and enjoy this wonderful, wonderful sunrise. Take care, and we'll chat again. Bye for now.